can make it go left, right, forwards, and backwards. The G.I. Joe Battle Tank. Batteries not included.
Hello and welcome to another Patreon special missions request. This one comes from good brother Stuart Norris over in the jolly old UK. And it's for the original heavy artillery of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. It's the multi-ordnance battle tank, the M.O.B.A.T. The M.O.B.A.T was originally released in 1982, along with all of the other first wave of G.I. Joe Real American Hero toys. This M.O.B.A.T appears to be a 1982 M.O.B.A.T. You see the big vintage Hasbro symbol on there, 1982. And I've got a 1983 Steeler up here, which we can tell just by swivel arm battle grip right there. You know, I always thought that this was swivel arm battle grip, but this is actually just swivel arm. It's the hand that holds weapons that's the battle grip part of it, I guess, unless they consider being able to hold rifles properly with it. Anyways, back to the M.O.B.A.T review. Taking a look at the original electronic G.I. Joe toy. The M.O.B.A.T was battery operated. And the thing I love about the original M.O.B.A.T, toys these days often need a screw removed. Not a big deal, but, you know, you got to go get a screwdriver and unscrew a screw and then put it back in. And eventually those screws do get stripped. So it's nice that all these years later, 1982, this thing is still working just as good as the day it rolled off the assembly line. Just slide it in, slide it out. It does take two ginormous batteries. I often joke in my videos about some of the toys I have being Canadian exclusives and how they take two double D batteries. This is a Canadian version of the M.O.B.A.T. So it's got the Canada sticker and the Canadian flag on it. All of the vehicles that were released in Canada in the 80s, even though the box still had the Real American Hero on it, it had the Canadian stickers on it. And you just pop in these enormous batteries, quite a lot of heft to them. Pop them in there, and then you actually have to have the cover. Sometimes you can lose the cover and the vehicle will still work. But with the M.O.B.A.T, the leads make contact with the cover itself, so you just slide that in there. There's a particular way you have to put it in this way. It's also different from a lot of different covers. You can't put it in that way because these little things right there need to slide on there. It's actually a really great design. You have to get it in there right. That's your starting position, and then you just kind of push. You would think it would just go forward, but you actually have to kind of in and out and just kind of feel it through. So pop those batteries in. You need the driver. Yes, I know it would drive without Steeler, but it shouldn't. And then this is a really cool idea for how to get the M.O.B.A.T to move. There's no switch on it. There is a trailer hitch, but there's no switch, on-off switch button. It's actually incorporated into the look of the toy, and it's the turret that Steeler sits in. So by pushing it forward or backward, you can get it to go forward and backward. Unfortunately, this is not a functional M.O.B.A.T. Not working. You can try the old trick of maybe the motor is seized up and you can just kind of try to wake it up. But I don't think this one is going to be working today. Luckily, I do have the anniversary M.O.B.A.T, which works great, and we'll be able to see it roll in action in a couple of minutes, but it doesn't look like this one is going to work. One really nice thing about the M.O.B.A.T was the rubber treads on them, and I can't believe how good a condition these are in. These look actually brand new for how old this M.O.B.A.T is. There's no cracks or weak points in it, and they still roll pretty good. No problem there. Oh, it's trying. It's trying. Hallelujah. We've got one tread working. Look at that. It's, bless its heart. It's trying. Maybe we can wake up the second one. Isn't that amazing? Oh, that's awesome. It's down but not out, just like most G.I. Joe vehicles. That's one way to get your M.O.B.A.T to turn. The other official way would be to turn the turret. So in addition to a swiveling turret, which lets Steeler shoot the machine gun either left or right, you can turn the M.O.B.A.T if you had two working treads. You can turn it left by turning the turret left, or turn it right by turning the turret right, as these instructions show, courtesy of 3D Joes. Well, there's a little bit of toy magic right there. And now I can show you on this original one that when you push it in the back position, it'll do something G.I. Joe never did. It'll go in reverse. This was a Cobra gimmick. Let's take a look at some of the ordnance, some of the heavy artillery on the G.I. Joe M.O.B.A.T. We've got the front turret, which goes slightly up and down, and this one has gotten loose over the years. The G.I. Joe headquarters has slots in one of the bays, or two of the bays, I guess, that allow the turret to get through. So the M.O.B.A.T, while it's stationary in the headquarters, can also be part of the headquarters and still fend off Cobra by shooting through one of the bay walls. And so in addition, like most tanks do, it has the big shell cannon, and then it also has a machine gun turret on the top. And that up here has a removable, often lost cannon piece, which, this is interesting right here. This looks like a G.I. Joe backpack peg right there. And I'm curious, if we turn the turret this way out of the way, if you can actually... No! Whoops! I've accidentally activated this M.O.B.A.T. This looks just like a backpack peg, but it's actually too big to fit a G.I. Joe on. That's interesting. Just plug that right on there, and machine gun fire. Let's take a look at the driver of the M.O.B.A.T. Tank Commander, codename Steeler. File name Pulaski Ralph W. Primary military specialty, armor. Secondary military specialty, artillery, transportation. Birthplace, Steeltown, of course, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The bio reads, Steeler comes from a blue-collar middle-class background. He put himself through college on an ROTC scholarship and worked as a heavy equipment operator, familiar and proficient with all NATO and Warsaw Pact AFVs. Graduated armor school, top of class. Special training, Cadre XAFV project. Artillery school, AFV desert exercise. Covert ops school. Qualified expert, M16, M1911A1, MAC-10 Uzi. And the quote reads, Young, reckless, often clashes with authority, but he's one tough soldier. And here is a look at that tough soldier Steeler's figure. He has a different shade of green than most of the original OD Joes. These guys are actually closer in color to the M.O.B.A.T, while Steeler is closer in color to Zap. They seem to be the same type of lighter. The Zap has never been able to stand very well with his weak knees that I gotta reinforce someday. Reuses a lot of the same parts as the other Year One Joes. He's got this great pistol on his chest, pistol holster with a gold handle pistol. That looks cool. Love the black gloves on him as well. And you need a giant visor when you've got a giant cannon to target. And it moves up and down. It's cool that it can move up and reveal Steeler's eyes. He's got the same head sculpt as Colonel Hawk, short fuse, a lot of those other guys with the brown hair. And he also comes with the same Uzi that the first version of Snake Eyes came with. This is a reproduction. Works for me, though. But it's just interesting that this guy comes with basically a giant rolling gun. And he still comes with a gun, because Clutch didn't come with a gun, vehicle driver there. Hawk didn't come with a gun, even though he came with a giant missile launcher. So just, it's interesting that Steeler included a little Uzi, same weapon as the deadly Snake Eyes, and I guess Steeler is deadly in a different way because he is driving this giant beast of a vehicle. In the first year of G.I. Joe, before the headquarters was released, this kind of acted as G.I. Joe headquarters. There's artwork depicting the Joes all either leaping off of this thing or sitting on it. And it's kind of the G.I. Joe Year One diorama base type of thing. It's kind of tough to get them all to sit on it. Unfortunately, there's no foot pegs. In later years, everything would have foot pegs all over it, but this tank could have definitely benefited from foot pegs, and there's not one to be found, so it's more of your traditional looking sit a guy on here, just bend their knees and have them sit there. As long as you're not shaking it around, it should be okay, and it's a pretty cool look, having it be a troop transport in a way as well. But I've often done this, and just the slightest little bump. Of course, it doesn't do it now. Well, there you go. Comes with a trailer hitch, so you can attach some of the weapons like the HAL or the MMS onto the back. And what's that line from the A-Team movie? Overkill is underrated, my friend. As if the M.O.B.A.T isn't enough artillery, you can attach something like the HAL laser onto the back there. Nice and secure too. That is not going to pop out just because of the hook design that they've done there, where it goes up and then back towards the M.O.B.A.T. So you can actually put this thing in motion, and there's enough power in the M.O.B.A.T to not just pull itself, but anything that you hook up in the back as well. A couple of size comparisons. Going to start off with not the Vamp, it's the Panther, sent along by Stuart from Action Force. And it's actually not that much bigger than a Vamp or a Panther, but it's definitely much, much more hefty. And then the comparison that I think most people would be interested in. I was very interested to see how these two compared. This is from the 2008 Ultimate Battle Pack from the G.I. Joe Anniversary line, which included this updated modern Steeler figure. And that was a monster of a pack. It also included a Cobra Flight Pod as well as a Hiss tank. That was a really, really jam-packed set. And it also included a couple of figures. Short Fuse was in there as well. So main difference is color. This one is more of a muted, faded looking green, and that's how it's always looked. I don't think it's faded too much over the years, whereas this is a deeper green. It looks like the contrast is cranked on it a little bit more. This was the American version. I don't know if this was even available in Canada, so it's got the United States stickers on it. The only major difference between the two is that the modern one, for some reason, does not have the little nubs to hold on to for the driver figure. I'm not sure why those were removed. They actually work great with, if you put the modern figure in the original one, he can grip those with his rubbery, bendy hands really well. So I'm not sure why those were removed. And give you a little look at the two figures here. They've brought over the chest gun. He's got a new custom harness that you can put on. Got a knife on the side, even though the original one didn't have a knife, and a pistula there in his boot. So the original one didn't have that either. Little extras, upgrades. Got the visor, but the visor is nowhere near as cool as the original visor. Just this kind of black tinted visor on his helmet. Would have been nice if they just redid this so that it would fit on that. You can't actually take this and put it on here, because this helmet is much smaller than the original helmet. And a matter of fact, this is actually too small for this helmet. You can see it's kind of stretching. It's always kind of bowed out on the edges on that one. And also this one is even lighter than this one. It's almost a grayish green rather than the original one's olive drab. So now let's pop some batteries in the new modern one and see if this one will run a little bit better. They have changed things from the original one, and now a screw does have to be removed. Nice thing about the way this is designed is you can't lose the screw. It's actually going to stay in there even though it's fully unscrewed. Interesting that it takes the exact same batteries as the original one did. A lot of reissue toys, they're able to update the toy a little bit better and allow it to use a smaller battery, use the power a little more efficiently, whereas the Mobat, I like that they kicked it old school. It takes 2 giant double D batteries still. That's part of the charm of the vehicle because it's already so big, but putting those batteries in makes this
beefy.
And we'll pop Steeler in the top here, and let's see if this baby will roll. Oh yeah. No issues there whatsoever with the reissue version. And once again, totally unnecessary for a G.I. Joe, but reverse also works on this thing. And you can't use a rolling tank toy without crushing something. And since I want to keep things family rated here, we're going to use a bat instead of an actual Cobra Trooper. I'd like to say I think he'll be okay, but as Mad Max said in Fury Road, he went under the wheels. And it's not just good for crushing Cobra robots. You can also crush some Insecticons, Cup style from Transformers the movie. Oh, or everybody's favorite mini-bot. Poor Wheelie. Oh. That is a fun one to just have roll over things and crush them. So much better than vehicles that came after it, like the Attack Track, which works on flat surfaces okay, but can't really climb over things. It'll be interesting to do a comparison when I do the 1985 G.I. Joe Mauler review to see the differences in grip and able to climb over things between the Mauler and the Mobat. But this one is such a big, hefty beast. It can go over top of anything, and it's just a lot of fun to have it rolling over top. The design is really good, like a real tank. It can actually go over things that are pretty high, as long as it's on something like a carpeted surface. If it's on a smooth surface like this, it's just going to push the thing forward. So thanks, Stuart, for that Patreon special missions request. Thank you to the entire Patreon tribe for being part of the Patreon tribe and supporting the channel. And thank you everyone else for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Want to thank Michael Butcher for the increased pledge. Thank you very much for the extra energon, good brother. And also thank you to the channel members who hit join. Welcome to the newest channel member, Dynamite 80s Toys. And if you'd like to share it with your fellow G.I. Joe fans, feel free to share the link to this video on your various social media platforms. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, MySpace, is that still a thing? To join the tribe, hit subscribe, and remember to hit that little bell for intel on when new videos and surprise live streams are up. Till next time, yo, Joe!